everybody. Welcome to Living Power, your online Bible study where we are walking through the Bible in a year. Welcome to the month of May. Today is May 1st. Can you believe it? And we are 4 months into our Bible study. And we are about a third of the way through with the Bible study, if you can believe it. And we are in the book of 2 Samuel. And we're reading about the life of David, and today we got a treat in our reading. It was a little bit lighter. We actually got to read a psalm. We read a psalm and a song, and if you've already read it, you know that they're the same thing, and I'm going to explain to you today a little bit about why that is. So our reading was really cut short, and I'm going to give you a break today. I'm going to be really brief in my video today. Some of you are thinking, I'll believe it when I see it. But it's just because there's just so many good things to talk about that I want to share everything with you. But today we do have an abbreviated lesson. We read 2 Samuel 22 and Psalm 18. And I would just encourage you to go back and really meditate on this. You can pick either one, Psalm 18 or the Song of Praise that David wrote in 2 Samuel 22. They're the same. And just see which one that you want to look at. And as you meditate on it, meditate simply means to think of the scripture over and over again. So you're going to read it, you're going to think about it over and over again, let it roll around in your mind and mutter it quietly, silently, but vocally under your breath. That's what it means to meditate. And as you go through the psalm, see if you can pick out just one verse in the psalm that really speaks to a circumstance that you're going to, or maybe you want to say, oh, this is my life verse, or this really speaks to me for whatever reason. Mine was 2 Samuel 22 verse 30. In your strength I can crush any army, and with my God I can scale any wall. And that's how I came to title the lesson today, Scale Your Wall. Because it's God's strength that allows you to have victory. And it's His presence, Emmanuel, God with us, being with you day to day that enables you to do what it is that He's calling you to do. So go out there and scale your wall, whatever it is that He's calling you to do. This psalm is known as David's grand tribute of thanksgiving for deliverance from his enemies. It's where he describes the Lord's intervention using some descriptions reminiscent of Mount Sinai. The reason they are duplicates is because 2 Samuel was written first and was most likely put into the book of hymns as a psalm that would have been used at the temple for their worship services, and they probably sang to it, Psalm 18. So it ended up in the book of hymns, but it was originally written and transcribed by the author of 2 Samuel. I love in verse 19 to 24, I'm speaking of the psalm here, David answers the question, why did the Lord rescue him? He's given me deliverance from my enemies. I was way down low in this pit, and that God has just raised me up. This promise is for you too. You can read this, even though David wrote this in his life, and you can see your life, God reaching down and delivering you from whatever trial or trying circumstance that you have either been living through, or maybe you're in it right now as we speak. You can claim this for your very own. In verse 19 it says, because God delighted in him, because he was upright and faithful. God delights in you. Did you know that? God just delights in you and your presence and wants to be a part of the very details of your life. The themes here in the psalm, we see trouble, we see flight, conflict, but yet victory in the end. And who does David give credit for the victory. Ultimately, the credit, even in our circumstance, should go to God Himself. Can you relate to these themes? Can you see yourself in the Psalms? Note some of the verbs that were used. I love this. God heard me. God rescued me. He led me. He armed me. He holds me. He gives me. I like to study some of the verb choices in the Psalms. Some of the imagery that we see here, God coming down. He reached down. He drew me out. You will see this imagery a lot in the Psalms because it denotes the fact that God is so much higher than I. He is so much loftier in higher places. The earth is His footstool, and to come down, He must reach down. I love the Psalms in the scriptures where it says, God bends down to come to our level. Just like when you have a little baby or a little child and they're playing on the ground, or maybe you're being introduced to a young child for the first time, what's instinct that we do? We kneel, we bend down and get to their level so that they don't feel intimidated and they can come to trust us. And we can talk to them, this little child. Well, that's the same thing that God does. God, who is God, bends down and kneels down to come down to your level and to reach for us and to lift us up. I just love that imagery. It just speaks to the love and the faithfulness of God. You know, that's another theme in this psalm, that the blessings of God are obtained by our faithfulness. David certainly wasn't saying that his faithfulness was due to his righteousness alone, but surely he was giving God credit for even that and recognizing that we can in our life receive blessings or curses. We see this throughout the Old Testament, and that the blessings of God is a special part of the grace that He gives us when we are in fellowship and relationship with Him and are living right, upright lives. We receive the blessings from God. There is such a benefit to a faithful walk with the Lord. You know, there is a difference between common grace and special grace. Common grace is God's love for everyone. We see that in His blessings of maybe unsaved people or wicked people. They prosper sometimes just as much or more in this world materialistically and in other ways than do righteous people. God's love for everyone. He wants all to be saved. There is no impartiality there when it comes to God wanting to save all people, and that His grace extends to all people. Yet there's a special grace that God reserves for those that are in covenant relationship with Him. Did you know you, as a believer and as a child of God, are in a covenant relationship with Him, a personal relationship? Remember in the book of Genesis, we saw how God reached out to individuals. Abraham made a covenant with Abraham. Noah, covenant with Noah. And Jacob, now he's reaching out to David. And a couple days ago, we talked about the Davidic covenant. Well, God has a covenant with each one of us as individuals. And He draws us in, reaches down and draws us in to intimate fellowship with Him, one-on-one. There is an outline that I wanted to share with you today too. If you like outlines and really want to study this Psalm 18, you'll enjoy this. The first 3 verses are about praise, 4 through 19 about power, 20 to 24 about procedure, 25 and 26 about principle, and then we reverse again, 27 to 31 about procedure, 32 to 48 about power, and 49 and 50 back where we started, again at praise. Boy, God is a God of order, and we see order even in this Psalm 18. A couple of lessons we can take from the reading today, I believe. You know, Yahweh is the only figure of Israel's praise. What are the figures of your praise? Is it God and God alone? Or are there other things in your life Do you praise and worship money? Do you praise and worship your children, your husband, your job, your culture, your country, whatever it is? Yahweh is the only figure of Israel's praise. We see here God being called a lamp. You are my lamp, and a rock. I love the figure, the metaphor about the lamp. Verse 29, the Lord lights up darkness. You know, if you don't know where to go, if you don't know what to do, if you're having a tough time making a decision right now in your life, seek the Lord. The burning lamp is a metaphor for continual light and prosperity. And that's in verse 28. And the Lord will light up your darkness. If you just ask Him, He will give you secrets, tell you secrets and things that you don't know. And He will light your path because the Lord is a lamp. We see for the first time our God is a solid rock. If you need someone solid to stand on, something that is not sinking sand. So many things in this world are sinking sand, and we put our trust in them only to realize it was faulty. But God is the solid rock upon whom you can stand. And then the Lord's loving kindness is shown to David's descendants, verse 37. In the Hebrew, this word is hesed, H-E-S-E-D, and this is one of my favorite Hebrew words. I bet it will be yours too. It means a loyal love. And anytime you see loving kindness, it's probably that word, hesed. God's hesed, His loving kindness for you, is a loyal love. He is in covenant with you. He will be faithful to you forever. I wonder if we can show Him our hesed and love Him with faithfulness and a loyal love as He does us. Well, we have a responsibility to communicate. I think this is the application here that we can pull from reading this beautiful song of praise in the psalm. We have a responsibility to communicate our thanks to God. Today was a time out for praise. And it just reminds me, when was the last time that I really gave the Lord praise? Yes, I may have quiet time. Yes, I may do my Bible study, but that's different from just stopping and giving the Lord praise and thanksgiving for all that He has done and especially who He is. So let's take this time out today and be reminded of how important it is to praise. The other responsibility that I think we're being reminded of today is to tell others of the deliverance that we've experienced in our own life. It may be a deliverance from a bondage mentally or physically or whatever it is. We've all been delivered from something, and the Lord is to be credited for that. So let's share our stories and remember to share our stories of deliverance as David has shared his story of deliverance with us. Well, I better quit or else I won't make good on my promise to end early today. Shalom, everybody. See you tomorrow.